morning, Charles.
Good morning. Good morning. What is going on?
Not much, man. How you been?
You know, I've been doing pretty good. How about you?
Yeah, same here, man. Been busy, been, just trying to do everything at once. That's really what it is.
I heard that. I heard that.
Let me do a few things real quick, and we could start today's market update for everyone. Shall we?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I feel like, even with at least our local market here, I feel like, we're still going pretty strong out here. A lot of things still going on. A lot of people still buying houses. A lot of people still selling houses. It's like I've noticed that, it's it's a little bit of everything. You never know. So you got some older houses, you got people flipping houses. I mean, it's just the houses are still moving, definitely still moving.
Yeah, it is. Um,
Did like a
I,
million dollar house the other day.
I, I, I
Oh,
think, I think everybody's a little in the unknown, or they're kind of afraid that the elections might start having a big impact on
mm-hmm,
everything. So I think that's kind of why right now, because you know how right now normally everything starts slowing down right now because everybody's kind of preparing for like the holidays. They're
mm-hmm,
preparing for um they're preparing for like New Year's and all of that, right? So
mm-hmm.
I think the elections this year is gonna have a huge effect on a lot of things. And a lot of gurus, they're saying that no, elections don't really have anything to do with it. I feel like it does. The reason why I feel that way is just it makes people wonder, man, who's gonna be the president, right? Who's gonna be the person in charge of the of everything going on? Even though the market isn't dictated by that person, the market's gonna do what the market's gonna do. I feel like knowing who the president is gonna be, running the show for the next 4 years, some people are really kind of factoring, okay, what's gonna happen? Prices are gonna go up, rates are gonna go up, like what's gonna go up, transportation, energy, whatever, right? So I think that makes people factor in whether they want to buy or sell a home, you know. So that's just my take.
No, I agree
What?
with you. I think that's definitely a factor in that situation for sure.
Yeah, but all right. Well, welcome, Chi Chi fams. Happy Friday. I know you guys are wondering, it's Friday and they're live today. Right? Well, it's because we want to bring you guys a weekly update, but like what we mentioned earlier, it's been kind of crazy. We've been trying to do everything all at once by ourselves, and Charles has a inspection company. I have a real estate company. The wifey has a staging business, and everything's just kind of booming right now. So we've been doing a lot, and that's why. But we want to make time to give you guys updates. So that's why we're doing it on a Friday morning. And Lisa's not here today because I think she has some matters to attend to this morning. So it's just me and Charles. But
That's
let's
right.
see. Yeah. So if you guys want to talk to Charles about his piano back there, just ask away. You guys want to ask
Let's
him
leave the
about
fireplace
my
out of it.
piano?
Don't talk to me about the fireplace. I don't want to talk about my stonework. But the piano, you talk about that all you want.
Yeah, let's do that. Don't talk about his fireplace, just piano. Let me just share my screen real quick. We go over market updates and then get this show rolling. Get this show rolling. Okay, inventory slightly going up. You guys see that chart? And sold pendings and new listings kind of stagnant, kind of across the board for the past couple months, I feel. So, yep, inventory is up from last week, 1.8%. New listing is up too, 13% from last week. Sold home is down, 30%. Pending homes are also down, 11% from last week. Let's look at month over month. Inventory is higher this month than last month by 4%. New listings are down though by 7%. Sold homes are down 20%. Pending homes are up 2.8% this month versus last month, same time. Gosh, I can't believe we're already in September, bro.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy, man. In mid-September.
Yeah, uh-huh. It's going by so fast. All right, this year, same time versus last year, same time. Inventory this year is higher by 53%. New listing is higher by 30%. Sold home is down 9%. Pending homes are up 27%. Interesting, interesting. So we have less homes sold this year, this time, than last year. But pending homes are up a lot higher. Okay. All right. Let's go over the average price. Actually, you know what? I want to go down to the current year to date versus last year's year to date. So the averages, right? For the 9 months so far. If you guys look here, since we're kind of in pretty deep now for 2024, there's enough data now to kind of go over this. But if you guys look here, inventory this year so far versus last year combined, same time, we have 53% more. New listing is up 21% more than last year's. Sold homes are more by 3%. Pending home is up 5%. Okay, so what's the difference between this? I always get people asking me, Charles, about year to date versus just the same month last year. What's the difference? This one is just comparing only between September 1st to the 12th, 2024, to the same time length last year, 2023. This is combining all the data from January all the way till this September now, 2024, to the same time frame last year. So that's like 9 months worth of data, right? You guys look. I know that if you guys remember me going over the year to date here, like right here, sold like less homes sold this time than last year, same time. But combined 2024 versus 2023, it's more. Does that make sense, Charles?
Yeah.
So total of all the data so far from year to date, 2024 has more of the data increases than last year. Okay. So why is that important to know? Because that means 2024, everything is slightly going up. Yes, inventory is going up by 53% so far. New listing is up 21%. Sold home is up 3%. Pending home is up 5% compared to last year. That means, like what me and Charles were just saying earlier, despite everything, all the odds, everything that's going on this year, people are still out there. They're still buying, they're still selling. That's the reality. Okay, this is data right here. So I thought that's good to know. All right, let's go over to the next column. Average price per square foot is up from last week, 3%. It's up just a slight from last month by 0.3. It's up 3% from last year, same time. Year to date, on average, it is up 4%. Okay. Average price per square foot. Days on the market. Average days on the market this week is 25 days. Last week was 30 days. 98% of sellers are getting what they're asking for. No change from last week. This time, okay, so this month versus last month, same difference. 25 days on average for a home to go pending, off the market, whatever you want to call it. Same time last year it was faster by 2 days, 23 days on average. Now look at this year to date. Year to date last year averaged it was 32 days. This year is 28. That means homes are selling faster this year versus last year.
I've
Okay.
definitely been noticing that. Definitely. A lot of quick closes for sure.
Yeah. So like sellers, if you guys are wondering if your home's gonna sell, as long as you market it right, you know, price it right, list it right, it's gonna sell. Okay, look, on average this year, 99% of sellers are getting what they're asking for. Okay, same time, same thing last year. 99% of sellers are getting what they're asking for. They're selling it for what they're listing it for. Okay, so there you go. Let's go to the average sold in sale. There's no difference in active price from last week. Sold price though went up by 4% from last week, 617,000 versus 593. And then from last month, sold price on average went up zero point 0.8, but active is down 0.8 as well. Last year, same time, active price is down 3.3%. Average sold price is up by 3.8%. 3.8. Last year, same time was 604,000. This time it's 627,000. Now look here, year to date, active price is down by 3.3. But look, sold price on average year to date is up 4.8%. 4.8%. Last year, on average, the homes were selling that was year to date was $580,000. This year so far is $608,000. So you tell me if prices are still going up or not. To everybody telling you no, prices are coming down, they're lying to you. They're not looking at data, they're making up data. Because look, this is data from last year and this year combined. On average, this is what's going on. Okay. It's good to look at what you have going on now and what you have going on as a whole. And just kind of look at what's going on average, because that'll tell you what's going on in the real estate market. And prices are not slowing down, y'all. 4.8%. Yes, it has not gone up as fast as we've seen it gone up like during 2020 and all that. But again, 2020 was a crazy year too. So a lot of that affected the acceleration of everything going up fast. So I think people are still pretty conditioned to prices going up that fast, Charles, and they're not used to it being 3.8, 4.8 on average, but that's still really good. If you bought a home last year for 580, this year it went up to 608 and you didn't do nothing. So that's that. Let's look at some inventory. Inventory charts pretty similar. So 2.5 months worth of inventory versus 1.9 last month. 31 increase in inventory. Same time last year, we have 67% more inventory this time versus last year. Year to date, we have 50% more inventory than last year. Feels about right, you know. The amount of homes for sale increased. The buyer pool did kind of go down, but then again, even though the buying pool is lower, depending on how the rates go these upcoming months before election or even after election, a lot of buyers are waiting for the rates to come down. You know, I'm getting people reaching out to me and Lisa saying, once rates come down, I'm gonna jump back in. You know, everybody's waiting for that. And speaking of rates, you ready for the mortgage, Charles? You ready to see how the mortgage is looking today? That's a good segue into the mortgage. So it went up just a slight today, as of today. Conventional is at 6.15. 15-year fix is at 5.6. Jumbo loan is at 6.4. ARM is at 6.15. FHA is at 5.69. VA is at 5.7. These are the rates.
I haven't been paying attention to this lately. These are slightly better than what I thought they were. Just thought we were still.
I am projecting it might go lower. FHA might get close to 5.5 or even lower. I'm projecting. Okay, disclaimer, me. But I've been wronged. Okay, I'm human. I'm only human. But that is today's rates, y'all. Again, another disclaimer. Just because you see it on the show doesn't mean that's what you're gonna get it locked in for. Because right now it's only 6:18 a.m. Okay, and if you lock it in when the mortgage company opens, which is in a couple hours or so, it's gonna change. Okay, so just kind of use this as a reference on the average, I would say. But depending on your credit score, depending on the loan amount, depending on the area of the home, your rates may vary. So just be aware of this, okay? And that is the market update, everybody, for Sacramento County. Charles, you got any update on your end, man, on the housing inspections and all that? What you've been seeing? Something you want to share with us?
Nothing that's really too crazy, but really it's for sellers. And I want to kind of segue into this as far as my maintenance update. Um, it's just when you're selling your house, there's a lot of things that you're finding out. You're gonna find out because of deferred maintenance, and you know how I am about this deferred maintenance thing. I talk about it all the time. But the reason why I talk about it all the time is because it can lead to so much money having to be spent, and if you're looking to sell your house, you have to make sure this stuff's done ahead of time. So even if you're not getting a pre-listing inspection of any kind, do your own walkthrough. There's a lot of resources online that you can look through, talk to your realtor, see if there's some things that you can do to prepare your house for the sale, prepare your house for the inspection. And I know that a lot of people will typically have all their stuff out. They're not quite ready to move yet. They're not going to pack all their things, but you definitely want to, pull things away from walls, kind of get prepared, kind of get an idea about what's going on. So that way, when you're dealing with your sale, you're not going to have any big hiccups, anything that's going to slow you down and cause you to have to, pump the brakes and deal with, crazy negotiations and all that. So it's
Yeah.
definitely important to really keep up on your maintenance. And even if you're not selling your house, keep up on your maintenance because it's all of the things that are going to cost you a lot of money later by putting it off every time.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of sellers they want or they prefer to do like a home inspection when the home is empty, or when they're done when they're done kind of you like touching it up, all of that, because they don't want those little bits to show up on the reports, right? But I think regardless, a home inspector is gonna find find dirt on a home, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Regardless. Like I swear, like I had this conversation with the seller one time, and we ordered that seller probably ordered over 3 inspections from 3 different companies. Each time he ordered a inspection, he corrected all the items that was on the report. And each new report that came up, something new came up. So like he was just so confused. Like he just feels like everybody's out to get him, basically, you know. And I told him no, like home inspector, their job is to really find dirt, you know, on your home. Because again, one, you guys don't want people coming back to you guys saying, hey, why'd you miss this? Right?
Mhm.
Like that's the last thing any home inspector wants to hear from their clients is Charles, you missed this, bro. Like there's dirt on my window. You didn't even report that that thing's not draining water out now. It's plugged
Uh,
up, you know, like little things like
yeah,
that, you know?
yeah. Well, and don't take it personal, sellers. You know what I mean? Like this, we're not like, we're not, it's not a like a personal attack. Don't take it that way. Just understand that, it's just how it is.
Yep.
And you'll go through the same thing when you're buying somebody's house. The inspector's going to tear that one up too. So one of the things that I like to obviously discuss this time of year, I mean, we got a few more days left and we're going to be getting to fall. I cannot wait. This heat this year, I feel like it's just been extra. But like I said before, I always like to talk about maintenance. And so when we're talking about fall maintenance, there's a whole nother list of things that you want to get ready for. Okay. So think about fall this way, right? You think about all these pests, these rats, these squirrels, all these different animals, the insects and everything else. The same thing we do. We batten down the hatches, we close up all of our windows and get everything ready for the cold months. Well, the rodents and the animals or everything, they're going to do the same thing. They don't want to be outside. They want to be in a nice warm place and cozy, right? And that just might happen to be your house. So if you have a raised foundation, which is a home with a crawl space, so you can crawl underneath it, that would be a home with a raised foundation. Typically, you're going to note that by steps in the front of the house or like, vents in the front or the sides, like all around the house. So, and it's kind of high up, in comparison to houses that are lower. That is a prime place for animals to hang out, to get out of the cold and the rain and all that kind of stuff. So, but the problem with that is, a lot of these newer homes that have a raised foundation have insulation underneath them, and that's to help insulate the outside from your floors for you as the person that lives in the house. But the thing about rodents and all the squirrels and all that, they like to hide in those areas too, right? And then you have your pipes and you have your wires and all that stuff under there too. So
Mm.
what's that rodent going to do? That rodent's going to be under there building its nest, getting warm. Oh, there's some wires and some pipes. Let me chew on that. And then all of a sudden you have problems, right? So one of the things that's important to do, and unfortunately this is damaged by a lot of different vendors, cable installers, sometimes inspectors, just depends. But you want to make sure that all the entries underneath your home are properly screened and blocked. And by that, I mean those vents that I was talking about, that's what actually keeps the proper type of ventilation underneath your house. And that's what keeps, the moisture from building up and mold growing and all that. So all those vents around the bottom of your house are meant to do that. Now, however, if those vents are damaged, that gives the opportunity for animals to get under there. So you want to let the air in. You don't want to block them off completely. So you want to keep those screens intact, but you don't want to have holes in them, which will allow animals in. A lot of times, what happens is you get cable installers. You'll get, like different vendors that'll come in, air conditioning people, whatnot. they'll use those vents because underneath the house you have a big, heavy concrete foundation. So trying to get through that is a lot harder than just busting a hole through that little metal screen. So they'll
Yeah.
run their cable lines, they'll run their, the refrigerant lines, whatever have you, pipes, whatnot. They'll run that stuff through those screens, not really caring about the fact that now they're leaving openings underneath your home for pests. So keep that in mind. And then also, when we're talking about your eaves and your roof as well, there's also vents up there for your attic. And you want to make sure that those stay sealed as well, because again, that's a really good place for rodents to get in. And rodents love your attic because it's much warmer than the underside of your house, because that's where all the heat's going to rise. Your insulation is going to hold it in pretty well, but that's exactly where they're going to go. They're going to dig down in that insulation and get right to the top of that drywall and stay warm. Have kids and make more poop in your attic and everything else. So definitely a good idea to make sure that all of the openings where pests can get into your home are sealed up. You never want to allow for that to happen, because when it does, it's very difficult sometimes to get rid of these things. You want to definitely call a good pest control company to come out. We can take care of that kind of stuff for you too, if need be. Give us a call. But definitely look for that. And then obviously any other areas of small, even on the small penetrations into the wall where pipes go in, come around, seal those up. For that'll prevent water from coming in. So
Soa says, ain't no animal getting under my vents. My piranha fish ready to eat them if we catch them. You got piranha fish, Soa?
hey, you know what? Some people, especially when they're out on country, they have like farm or like barn cats and animals out there.
Yeah.
So sometimes they'll take care of the rats and stuff for you. You don't even gotta worry about it.
Oh my gosh.
That's just good for them. So man,
Uh,
this is also a really good time to get a roof inspection. Get a roof inspection and make sure that your gutters are clean. Make sure that your roof doesn't have any damage or issues right before it starts raining. Don't call them when it's raining and it leaks, because just like your air conditioning and your heating person, they're going to be super busy because there's a lot of stuff going on. So call them up, get them to come out, get that that roof inspection. Make sure all of your any of your storm collars, all that good stuff, anything on your roof, your tiles are good, your shingles are good. Make sure everything's good, so that way you're not going to get that water intrusion. And again, it's something else when you're just going about your business and all of a sudden you have water intrusion. And think about it this way: even though last year you didn't have any leaks and the year before that you didn't leak, you always say, I don't have any leaks, it's all good. Well, that doesn't mean that something didn't break or crack during this crazy summer heat that we had. So you always want to make sure you get somebody up there to take a look at it, because this is the stuff that just happens over time. Again, it's maintenance. It's all about the maintenance, right? So like I said, definitely the attic vents. One thing, if you're in a climate, which we aren't really over here, but if you're in a climate where you have a lot of freezing weather, once we start to get into December, one of the things you want to think about: don't leave water in your hoses, and don't leave your irrigation systems primed and ready to go. What you want to do is you want to shut those irrigation systems off. And there's usually a valve near your main water shutoff that's just for irrigation. And then you want to shut off your hoses and drain your hoses also, because once it starts to get to December and January, where it starts to get in the 30s, you're going to start causing some damage to some of that stuff with the freezing temperatures. I mean, again, we're not in Truckee here, but this is a live stream and we can go out to anywhere. So just keep in mind that when you have freezing temperatures, you don't want to leave that stuff with water in it, because anything you have with water in it like that's going to freeze and it's going to cause problems.
I know. Look, are you reading this?
I'm reading it. Yeah.
She has a self-containing pest control going on in her house, so she doesn't pay nobody for her pests.
You know what? When you see praying mantises like that, you're always wondering, like, okay, they're just hanging out like that. What do they do? But they are crazy with like other insects. Like, I've seen them go to work before, and there's something else. There's all kinds of stuff, man.
It's good to have praying mantis around.
Yeah, that's funny.
They're kind of like that OG, right? That old grandpa that just stays in the living room all day doing nothing.
Hmm.
And right when that grandpa needs to step up and say something, he'll drop something super wise and deep. And it
Hmm.
means so much.
One of the
uh,
other things too is when you're going around checking all your vents and all that stuff too. Have a duct person come out and check your dryer vent. You can do this yourself if you feel like it. It's a little bit of work involved in it. If you're inclined, I definitely suggest you can go to the local hardware store and they have this tool, and it comes in segments and it's got a brush on the end of it. You stick it on a drill, and you just keep adding the segments on, and you turn your drill on and you stick it in the dryer vent, and it's crazy the amount of things that come out. But that's another thing that will definitely help, because especially during the winter months, you want to make sure your dryer vents are cleared. And then what happens is the little duct on the end of your dryer vent usually stays open because it's clogged with so much lint. And again, you got hot air. That's a nice invitation for rats to get in there and climb in there. And then you got rats in your dryer. That's not good. So, and just like you were mentioning before with the windows, you got some dirt in there from maybe some of those dusty and dirty summer
mhm.
months or whatever, and you got some dirt clogged in your tracks in your windows. For that water to properly drain out, when that water hits your window, you got to make sure that those little drain weep holes on the bottom are empty. If they're not, what's going to happen is this water is going to build up, and then it's going to damage your windowsill or your drywall where your window is. So you want to make sure that all of that's cleared out and that you got good water flow and good movement in your windowsills. And if you're not sure about that, if you've never seen that before, on the bottom of your window, there's usually a couple of holes at the very base of the track on the outside, and on the inside, what happens is if water hits that on the inside, you'll notice that those areas should be clear. One way to test it is you can take a little cup of water and you can dump it in your window track, in the actual track of the window, and water should come out of those holes on the sides. If it does, you're usually good. But if it's kind of nasty, just wipe it out with a rag, cleaned up. Make sure it's in good shape.
If you guys don't want to do this yourself, like hire a cleaning lady. The other day I just had one of my friends reach out to a cleaning lady that I normally use. And dude, they clean out all the window tracks, all the door tracks. So all everything that Charles just mentioned, they clean all of that for you. And then that way you can start building your dust collection again for like another year or so, and then you don't
Yeah.
have to clean it up because we right now everybody lives such a busy life. They're trying to do multiple things at once, and then they forget about home maintenance. They forget about all the little things that just builds up over time. And then by the time you are getting ready to sell your home or anything like that, you're like you get a home inspection report from Charles, and then you're like, what the heck? Like my house is not this bad. It is.
And then you, you,
It
you you
is.
forgot about all that maintenance you didn't do all of them years. That's what happened.
Yeah, and then you start reflecting. You're like, "That's right, that's right. I forgot," and
Mhm.
it's okay. It happens. But um, sometimes whenever I get home sellers, I read the reports. They're like super upset sometimes or super offended. 'Cause they're like, "Are you sure they inspected the right house?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's your house. That's your window.
Yep.
Those are all your rat puddings, whatever, right? So like people just don't realize that most homes, is just not kept well, right? And then and it's okay. That's why you hire people to come and check it for you so that way you can do a good sweep all at once, right? And then go back to your daily lives again.
And that's the thing, if you're super busy, that's understandable. We all are at times, and that's, like I said, that definitely makes sense. Like it's understandable, but don't let this kind of stuff happen to you, though. Don't let these deferred maintenance things happen to you, because again, just like she was saying, you don't clean out your windows. Well, all of a sudden now your windows are making noises and they're not rolling very, very smooth. Well, that's because all that junk's in the rollers now that you left in your tracks. So definitely, it's important to note that. One of the other things too is, I get people that say, "Well, oh, I didn't know about that stain. Where'd that stain come from?" They'll just look up and be like, "What stain is that?" Well, I know how ridiculous this is, but I mean, go around with a flashlight. This is what we do, right? Go around with a flashlight, look up at all the ceilings, look at the walls, look everywhere in your house, and look for any kind of stains or anything that's going on. Because what happens is that, let's say your roof does leak because there's something that you just didn't know about, right? Well, you're going to think, okay, well, is that new or is that old? Like, where did that come from? I don't even remember that, right? A lot of times people don't look under their sinks. They don't check under their sinks. But one of the biggest things that happens, they just grab something out, they open up the cabinet, grab what they know is already there, they get it, and then they go about their business. But get on your hands and knees, get down under there, shine under there with a flashlight. Look underneath your sink. Check to make sure that there's no water leaking. It's so common and people have no idea. It's not like you have this stuff installed and nothing's ever going to happen. There's a lot of changes in your pipes from time to time. You're running hot water, you're running cold water. Think about what happens when you boil a big old pot of pasta, right? That water's boiling. So then you put your colander in the sink and you dump your pasta in there, and all that hot, scalding, boiling water, where's it going? It's going down in your drain, right? And then one day you're just washing your hands and you turn it on, you got cold, cold water in there, right? So you got constant temperature changes of your pipes and you're expecting all that to be fine. What's going to happen is things are going to loosen up. Things are going to, start to move around and whatnot. And once all that stuff starts to happen, that's when you start to get leaks. You start to loosen your fittings, and your pipe might get moved, or you shoved something under the sink and you forgot that you did, and you broke something and then you didn't realize it. This is all the kind of things that can happen. Clamps can fail, pipes can fail, hoses can fail. So once that happens, then you start to get this little itty bitty drip, little small drip, and then it turns to a bigger drip, and then all of a sudden the whole bottom side of your sink is rotted out, and you got mold and everything else, and then you got a huge cost because you got so much stuff under your sink you didn't even know it was leaking. So again, pull all your stuff out, check it all out, and that's a good time to throw old junk away that you probably ain't using anyway. you know. But it's definitely a good idea. Definitely get in there and just, this is all regular maintenance. This is all things to do.
Ain't nothing wrong with that too, like it's all part of it. So like the other day, since you're talking about plumbing, the other day I had a friend, he's getting his home ready and all that to rent, and he wanted me to go look at it, and the pipes bursted. So in his front yard, it didn't really burst, but it leaked. It was a slow leak, but it started leaking out because then we shut the water off, right? And worked on the house, the plumbing, and then when we turned the plumbing back on, everything started leaking, like the sprinkler heads, everything started leaking. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Before we turned the water off, like everything was fine. Like, why is it leaking now? Like, I want to hear an explanation. And I had a plumber come out, and the plumber that opened it up, he said, well, these pipes, if depending on the material, when there was constant pressure and everything was holding together, so everything was good, all the gaskets. But if we shut the water off, all the pressure goes away in those lines. And depending on how long we shut it off for, that pipe may have flexed and relocated to like a different position. It might not even be that far off, like less than an inch. And when we pressurize the system again, everything started leaking again because all those gaskets had time to dry up, all the pipes had time to be flexible and move. And so when we pressurized the whole system back up, it started leaking and created cracks because maybe some of the material was already deteriorating. And then sure enough, dude, some of the pipe was like not straight anymore. And then there was also roots down there that was kind of pushing on it, that when we turned the water off and it caused the leak, those roots started growing and it started pushing the pipes in a different direction, and that's what caused the leak even more. So that was really interesting to see, and I learned a lot from that. So like just little things like that, nature's gonna have its way. And and like with the water in the system during the winter being pressurized and frozen, like what Charles mentioned, things like that. Everything just plays a role. Mother Nature comes in, and then the home is used to one thing versus the other thing, and then crap just starts breaking.
Mhm.
But that I thought that was pretty interesting, you know. And then my friend had received like a big old bill at the end of the day. But then it is what it is.
Yeah, definitely. But that's the
I
thing,
was
right?
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say that's the thing. It's just like there's changes in what you do, right? So whether or not it's the summer months where you're not even you turn on your faucet and the water's hot because the pipes are in your attic and so they're a little warmer. And then in the winter months you got to leave it on for a while to warm it up because it's freezing and the pipes are kind of cold. So it's kind of the same thing. If you have an older house, check your insulation too. You might want to do an upgrade on your insulation. And a lot of times when you shut your water off and you turn it back on, there are going to definitely be some things that you have to look for. That pressure change in the water can sometimes cause pipes to shift and move, just like Gia was saying. And when that happens, sometimes you might get some leaks. Sometimes things happen there, especially when you have an older house with galvanized pipes, because you have all that sediment and whatnot that's built up inside that pipe, and the pipe where it's basically starting to break away. You turn on the water again, and it's like a big brush of pressure in there, and it's going to loosen some things. And all them little pieces of sediment and rust and everything else that's inside that pipe is going to break away, and then it's going to clog your aerators and your filters on all your water faucets and your washer and your sinks and all that. So you got to check that stuff too. When you're turning your water back on, just be kind of cognizant of that stuff and make sure you're checking it out.
As
As long
long
as
as
it's
it's not
not,
the pipe in the restroom, because those pipes are full of.
you know, I will tell you. So this is another thing. When you're under a house, right? That's another thing, and it's real common in a slab. I suppose it's a lot easier for things to not shift around, but I mean, you're still going to have movement in a concrete slab. But I think it's a little bit more common in a crawl space house because you got people going under there, lumping pipes, doing things, whatnot. You're gonna get some leaks. So it's crazy when you go under a house. I had one time. This was literally the worst inspection. um, I was crawling under this house, and the pipe under the toilet had actually cracked and broken. Right, so it wasn't even just like it was. Every time anybody flushed the toilet, sometimes we'll see sinks and shower drains and stuff like that. That's bad enough, but there was this very strange odor underneath the house. And so as I got closer and closer to the bathroom, underneath the bathroom, it was awful underneath there. I mean, it was broken. It wasn't just cracked a little bit. It was like busted, and then everything that was coming out of that toilet was dumping into the crawl space. So that was nasty. That was definitely one of my worst experiences with a crawl space. And the agent that I was doing that house for still remembers that to this day, and we talk about it. And she says she's just like, "Oh, you remember that house when you were under the house with sewage?" And I'm just like, "Oh yeah, thanks for reminding me. I appreciate that." Oh, nasty.
She said it's called flex pipe. Tiny JB will that. I don't think they put flex pipes in front of your house, like the pipe that goes straight to the city. Oh yeah, I didn't even share that info. Like the pipe that bursted was that was about to burst. That one was the pipe going back to the city, and so we had to call the city to come out and tell us where the main city water pipe was so we could shut the water off going to the house. Otherwise, it would have been a huge mess, right? So we found it and then we shut it off, and that's when the plumber was able to replace all that piping. Yeah, they don't use flex pipe for that. So I think you're referring to the flex pipe that most people use underneath the sinks. But even that isn't even a permanent fix, too, right? Have you seen those
No.
flex pipes?
Oh man.
Yeah,
Why do they even sell those? Why do they sell those? People see them like, oh yeah, I'm gonna use that.
yeah.
This is perfect. I can move Let's do
Yeah.
whatever I want. No, don't do that. No,
Yeah, just get
no.
ABS or PVC and then just
Do it
form it
right.
yourself.
Do it
Buy the
right.
couplings. Yeah, don't get the flex pipe, man. I think those are kind of like Band-Aid, right? Band-Aids don't stay on your skin forever. Eventually, you just use it there until you get stitchings or put something over it to really wrap it, right? It's just Band-Aid. It's not gonna last forever. It's temporary in
Hmm.
case you're waiting for parts or anything like that, then you just put it in real quick. But eventually, again, going back to the maintenance thing, it's on the back of your people's minds and they forget to go back and correct it, right? And then they do a home inspection and it shows up, oh yeah, get that thing fixed. And it's like, oh man, I did that like a couple years ago. I forgot all about it.
Now it's
It's a
leaking.
band-aid. And that was leaking, yeah. Or people will have to keep tightening the bolt clamp, right? That on there, and it squeezes the heck out of those flexible pipe and it makes it crack and it starts to leak more, right?
Yeah, I don't even understand that. One of the other things that you really want to check for too, especially because a lot of times people use the space heaters and whatnot during the winter months. Make sure your outlets are good. Make sure that your cords and then whatever else you're using are good because again, you start to get into these colder months, and then you start to run some of those appliances to try to keep everything warm, and whatnot. Last thing you want to do is cause a fire. It's very important to check all that kind of stuff too.
Maybe you should have let it go back to the city so they have a bad day as well. That's mean. Sometimes you need to be a mean Grinch. Um, it wouldn't have gone back to the city because the piping from the city going to the house, like that part right there, different materials. And it would have been all on the homeowners anyways.
Because it
So
was on property.
yep. It wasn't
Yeah.
anything that had to do with the city at all. It was really just uh, maintenance that was not kept up to par for many, many years. Because again, my buddy, he had his home rented out for a long time and it was just neglected. The property managers at that house didn't really go and properly manage the tenants, and they just let it linger. And man, he got the home back after many, many years, and it was super neglected. So it had a lot to do with that. It wasn't the city's pipe. It was really maintenance that the tenants didn't really upkeep. So
Yeah, and think about it this way. Most of the time, anything that's coming into your house from some kind of municipality, whether or not it's a city, whether or not it's an electric company, whatever it is, most of that stuff, it's where their meters or where their connection is where they're going to be the ones to take care of it. So, for example, if it's a sewer system, drainage lines, or water supply lines, those are typically at the street or near the edge of the house. Those
yeah.
are going to be everything after that is the homeowner's responsibility. So, I mean, if you're talking about, there's usually a box that says water meter or whatever, or just a round cap that says water on it. That's where the city, before that, that's where the city takes. So anything after that is a homeowner's responsibility. Same thing with the sewer line. If there's something going on with your sewer lateral, that's your responsibility if it's on your property, most likely in most cases, right? But then you get
Mhm.
into a situation with like electrical and gas. So the gas meter is typically right next to your house. It's on property. The electric lines are typically the meter is right on your house. So your electric company is going to maintain everything up to that meter, right? And then your gas company is going to maintain everything up to that gas meter. So I just did an inspection the other day, actually, right? And we had a situation where there was a gas leak at the meter. Now the meter is again way on the property, right next to the house, and then there was actually a gas leak on the inside of the house too. So PG&E came out. You call PG&E, they'll come out immediately. They're very quick. PG&E is with gas leaks because obviously they don't want to cause any explosions, problems like that. I mean, seriously, every single time I've ever mentioned that there was a gas leak during one of my inspections, they're out there within a half an hour to an hour from the call being made to make sure that they handle the business right. So they solved the gas leak on the outside of the house. They found that there was one on the inside of the house too. So that's their deal. They took care of the one on the outside, but once it came to the inside, that again now becomes the homeowner's responsibility. That doesn't stop PG&E from unplugging and capping whatever it is that's not functioning, because whatever's connected to their gas supply, they have to ensure that it's not going to cause an explosion, right? So
Yep.
if they come into your house, you invite them in because you said there was a problem. Now they're going to come in and check everything. They're going to check your water heater. They're going to check, your furnace if that's gas. They're going to check your cooktop, your oven if that's gas. Do all that. And if there's something wrong with it, they will shut it down and tag it. And then you, as the homeowner, now have to repair that and make sure that it's sound so that it doesn't leak. So just keep that kind of stuff in mind.
Yeah, it's not really fun when you invite like municipality companies to come and check your house, or even city inspectors for like permits. Did you know that I'm trying to get some quotes and renovations going on in my house? And I didn't know this, but if you pull a permit, right? Or let's just say I wanted to update my kitchen, right? And my home's like built in the 50s, so it has a lot of grandfathered in plans, right? And I want to update my kitchen. I just want to do one thing, maybe just add a 220-volt to an island and put like a wall mounted oven. If you get a permit for that, did you know you can't just say I only want the permit for just that outlet? They come in there and look at your whole kitchen and be like, no, you have to update everything in this kitchen for us to give you that permit just for that one upgrade that you want, which is the oven. Because then now you need LED lights because we're trying to be greener. You need to update your plugs to GFCI and actually have a ground circuit going right back to the panel. You gotta get new light switches that's gonna work well with all these stuff and be more energy efficient. The insulation needs to do it. You got to get a whole new list of stuff now just because you wanted one permit pulled for just that one area. I get why they ask all that, but it could be overwhelming. It could be ridiculous because you came in for one thing and now you're getting a whole list for everything that you didn't even plan on doing. So
And
then
that's
now
why
that,
people don't pull permits.
dude, it is so crazy, man. I had no idea it was that ludicrous.
Mm-hmm.
Dude,
And
like,
then they tell you that if you don't have all your smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors, then they come in and they check that too. Let's say you're getting a water heater, they'll come in and check that. It's like, wait a minute, I was getting a water heater. Why are you checking my smoke detector? Well, I mean, you
yeah,
should have those anyway. But that's
yeah.
the reason why they're doing it, is because they want to make sure that your home is safe. But if you're going to pull a permit, but yeah, that's why so many people don't pull permits, because they just want to get it done and they don't want to have to do all this crazy stuff.
Yeah, dude, it is. It is so crazy. I had no idea, dude. And like, um, big, like big ups to that one contractor that came out because he was like, dude, I work for this company and they require me to pull permits on everything. So like, if you don't want me to do that and open up a can of worms for you, then I suggest you find somebody that doesn't require to pull permits and just do the one job for you. And so basically, it's just a handyman at that point.
Yeah,
But
because
yeah, man.
any contractor is gonna, because if they want to make
Yeah,
sure they're doing it straight,
yeah,
that's
because
what they're
again, contractors are licensed, bonded, their license is on the line. I think it's on public information for the work they do
doing.
for up to like a couple years, so they need to do all of that. Otherwise, they're not going to tie their license to it.
Well, and I mean, there was a situation the other day. I mean, I'll do little repairs like that, stuff like that here and there. And, somebody asked me to take care of something. And, I know that that's not the kind of thing that I can do. I mean, it's like they need me to run some electrical and install, some new light fixtures, right? So, as a handyman, you're not even supposed to be doing anything as far as running new electrical. So that's the thing, handyman, a lot of times, a lot of them have the skills, a lot of them have the know how to do it. But if they're that far into it, typically they'll go and get their contractor's license if they want to do it full time and make it their whole entire career. But you really got to be careful with handyman, because that's not really the kind of thing that they should be doing. It. I don't know how many times I've seen on home inspections where somebody that wasn't skilled properly and just had enough information to do what they were doing, ran this, did that, whatever, and then now it's improper. Now you have, and here's the thing, right? So, for example, running a cable in the attic, you don't want to just run the cable in the attic and not secure it properly. Now you have somebody walking up there, they're stepping on things, they're not putting the connections inside of a junction box, and now you're having wires that are pulling away, arcing, causing fires. There's all these things that electricians are trained and that they know that needs to be done. Not to mention, after you pull the permit, typically somebody's going to inspect some of that work, right? So you have somebody else now backing up and looking at the work that was done to make sure it was done properly. So there's a lot of reasons why you need a permit. There's a lot of reasons why you should do all that. It's just, it's a lot. It's a lot. Like you said, Chia, it's a lot to deal with that. And sometimes people just don't want to mess with that. It's just too much, especially when
It
you're
is
just
a
saying,
lot.
oh, I just want to put in this new stove. I don't need to do all of that. I just want to put in this little patio cover. Why do I need to pull a permit just because it's 1 feet bigger than 12 feet?
And it's attached to your house, and they don't want your house to fall down, cave down, and you get killed.
Even if it's bigger than 120 square feet, you have to have a permit to make any outdoor
Even
structure like
sheds,
that.
even sheds.
Sheds, yeah, anything that's bigger than
Hmm.
that. And
People,
then
people
obviously, if you're
don't
going to run
people don't
electrical to it,
realize why they need to pull permits, but it's because have you ever inspected a home that the owner built their own shed and they didn't give it the
mm,
3 foot rule or from the property line, was it 3 feet or 30 inches or something like that? And they built it literally right next to the fence. And then now, whenever you want to work on that side of the shed, because it's rotted out or whatever, you can't because you got to break down the neighbor's fence to be able to work on it because they decided to maximize their yard space and built the shed right where the property line touches the neighbors. Have you seen those?
yeah. Or how about when they build it right next to the house,
Yeah.
this
Oh,
close to the
yeah.
house?
Yeah, that
How
too.
you gonna do that? You gonna break down the wall? You gonna open up the
Yeah.
window and jump in and try to fix it? No, can't do that.
Create a door. Create a door from that wall, from the room going to the shed. It'd be like a little man cave, secret room.
Oh man.
Yeah, dude, it's pretty crazy, man. Some of the things I've seen, man, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, man. I agree. I agree. People will do things because they're like, you know what? Seems like that's a good idea. And then you're just like, you get there and you're like, what were they thinking? Like, what is this? But hey, sometimes you got to maximize your space and you do some crazy stuff. So,
I
you know,
guess. I guess. But yeah, I've seen some crazy stuff, man, and it makes me wonder, like, where did they get this idea from? You
yeah.
know?
Well, we all have our own unique ideas and things to come up. So, I mean, I feel like, it's just kind of how it is. But yeah, it's really funny though. I feel like it's funny with the way that some people do things. But yeah.
All right. It's almost to that hour, everybody. And I think we might just end it here, close it out. Hopefully, you guys all got something today from the market update. Again, if you guys are wondering how the market is doing so far, prices are still going up slightly, rates are coming down slightly. Um, Homes are still selling. It's still the market's still moving, And again, if you guys are preparing to sell your home, do like a pre-inspection, like call somebody like Charles to come in, check your home for you, because I guarantee you there's something going on with your home that you don't know about because you just kept in the back burner for so long. And when you see that report, don't be too shocked. Just get it done. That's why you order these inspections so that way you can find out what's going on with your home and then go from there. Give you more information on your home and just do your maintenance. Winter's coming, and so just be on the lookout, do all of that. Or if you guys want to be like Soy and just have your own pest control in house, like do all of that too. But
You get some spiders too, man. Get some tarantulas up in there, man. Come crawl the wall, get all kinds of insects.
yeah. So yeah, just do all of that. But that's it. I think we're gonna end it here. Yeah, Charles?
Sounds good.
You guys all enjoy your Friday, your weekend, and we'll see you guys next time. All right. Thank you. Peace out.